Welcome to our weekly Christ in Our Neighborhood conversation where we chat about Sunday's Gospel with Bishop John. Everything you need to do this with family and friends is on the Diocese of Phoenix website at dphx.org. And with that, we welcome back Catherine Mulhern and Bishop. Good to have you both back in the studio.
It's always great to be with the two of you. But I'm excited about this gospel. I don't know about you.
Yeah, well, let's get started. Yeah, all right, Bishop, we're with Luke 16, verses 19 through 31 today.
Okay. Well, the gospel parable is a fine example of the two opposing worlds of exile and eternal life. The rich man is the type of person Amos was referring to in our first reading. He was complacent and living only for himself. He could not see Lazarus was lying at his own door. The rich man had selected to live in exile. As a result, his life thereafter would be a perpetual life of exile and torment.
However, even after he finds himself in exile, he summons Abraham to send Lazarus to take care of his thirst. The arrogance of the rich man continues even into his afterlife. He still thinks he is Lord over Lazarus. He is far from the call to be a steward for life. His is a life for domination, not dominion.
It should be noted that Lazarus is the Hellenized version of the Hebrew name Eleazar, meaning God is help. God is indeed our helper. Trusting in his love for us as King of heaven and earth, he calls us to have a share in his care for the world. He expects us to be stewards for life and not to live for ourselves. He commands us to love one another.
So, Bishop, what's this week's question?
Well, how have these readings challenged you to step out of your own comfort zone? You know, it was interesting as I was reading this, the piece that kind of struck me, about the rich man. He doesn't have a name, which is interesting. But he still thinks that he is Lord over Lazarus, saying, send him to get a cup of water for me to drink. And really thinking, actually the concept of if he had been the Lord or a Lord, like a landlord or something of Lazarus, he probably would have treated him better, but he was so indifferent. They say that the greater sin, hatred or indifference, is really indifference, because you can hate someone, but in deep down you actually love that person, maybe in many ways. But being indifferent is probably the greater sin. So I think that's the concept. How have these readings challenge us to step out of our indifference, out of our own comfort zone?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for sharing those insights, Bishop. The phrase that really got me out of my comfort zone is the phrase "at his gate." And so I kind of looked at myself from the perspective of the rich man and of Lazarus. And so from the rich man, kind of thinking, who are those people at my gate? Those people could be anywhere in history, anywhere in the world, and the Lord has put them in my sphere. And it's super annoying because I feel like the people where it's usually like, hey, if you could get your stuff together, I'd be a lot kinder. It's right. Kind of like, hey, could you figure it out? But that's probably one of the reasons they're in our life, because we need to get it together. So kind of who's in my own sphere. And then from the perspective of Lazarus, in my own wounds, am I willing to lay at his gate, at the Lord's gate? And I think that can sometimes be actually more challenging. And I always think of the story of the Good Samaritan and just the Lord's lavish love. And are we willing to go to his gate when we're suffering? So I love too that it said, the name Lazarus means God is help. So I think the challenge for me is, am I willing to let God help me? And am I willing to let him help other people through me?
Yeah, you can't give what you haven't first received, right? If you haven't received God's help, it's tough to share.
Absolutely.
That.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. For me, the words that really kind of struck for me were that complacency and comfort, and those are traps that I can get stuck into. And as I was thinking about this, I was thinking about Lord, how are you calling me out of my comfort zone? And interestingly, in the last couple months, he has presented a couple of different opportunities have been presented to me to step out in sacrifice and in generosity, which are the things that get you out of complacency and comfort. And so one of them was a was a financial opportunity to give in a way that I was beyond what I thought I could manage or we could manage. And my husband and I talked about it and we said, yeah, we're going to do this. We believe in this. We're going to do this. And then the other was another invitation to level up prayer for a particular intention for my parish. And it was like, are you going to do it or are you not? I mean, you can always say yes or no. Mm-hmm. That's the choice. And sometimes there's a lot of good things and you have to say no to some of them, but the Lord knew. And it's like, there was this other level up in prayer. And I said, okay, I'll do this. And looking back, I'm realizing how the Lord had presented me with these opportunities and how thankfully he worked in me to allow me to say yes, then to be more generous financially, to be more generous with my time in prayer for a specific need, not for my own needs, but like for something else. And it's really helped me kind of draw out of myself and reprioritize and not get so complacent and not get so comfortable. Yeah.
Well, the more you give, the more you receive is truly the adage of the ages, and we know it, and then we kind of retract and go back into our complacency, and then God calls us out again, and it's a wonderful thing. That's why we read these Gospels. They keep coming back and haunting us. Yeah. Don't be just a ritual fool standing out there.
Right. So true.
Gobbling up your meal while someone else is out there.
Yeah, so true.
So how can we work on that this week, Bishop?
Well, who is Lazarus in your life? Take this time this week to visit or care for a person who has been trying to spend time with you. Perhaps that person is your own child or spouse or best friend or relative. It may, of course, even be the Lord. This will help you get out of your comfort zone and will also give comfort to a person who may need your love. Not may, who does need your love.
That's quite a challenge.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Bishop.
Thanks, Bishop.
Thank you, Catherine. And good to see you. Well, you too.
Thank you.
For more information on Christ in Our Neighborhood and resources to start your own group, visit the Christ in Our Neighborhood section at the Diocese of Phoenix website.